you run 100 miles an hour all the time and you are crushing it in your career, you're successful, life is going exactly as you want it, sometimes the very biggest challenge of that success is not professional, it's personal. How come they don't always go hand in hand? Why is it that personal and professional often get in the way of each other? Why is there such a challenge from taking the high intensity, high performance life and walking into the house and being able to cope with something so small as the vacuum being broken? Why is it that we always have this challenge? We see it a lot with our military when they come home after being on the battlefield and literally have had bullets going by their faces, only to walk in the door and have to deal with something that may seem small to the rest of the world when that's what they've just experienced, but large to the person in the house dealing with it every day. Being a high performer at work, in life, professionally isn't good enough. The reality is we have to be our best everywhere. And the real truth is we're usually not our best around the people we love the most. I have to make sure that I'm delivering the same level of success I have at work every day at home, that I'm responding, not reacting, the same way I do with our employees or our company. And I can tell you that that's not always easy. It's something that is definitely a challenge for most of us in the world. Especially the more stressful your day is at work, sometimes there's not a whole lot left when you get home. I know this is normal for everybody. My wife's a school teacher. She's an amazing teacher. And I know there are days where she can come home and she's had enough. She's had challenge after challenge after challenge. And it's important for us to be empathetic of that. But it's also something that we all struggle with, because you're an absolute badass all through the day and you come in and now you have to be something that you've been all day and there's nothing left. How do you do that? First of all, I remember listening to this speaker one time, and he said, every day I really struggled with this for years. And I used to just have a tree out in front of my porch. And when I would walk in, I would inadvertently just hang something on the tree. And what I was hanging on the tree was everything that was on my shoulders all day long. I needed to walk in that house and be the father and the husband and the man that I knew I was, that I had been all day, but I needed to get rid of the challenges I had dealt with and the stress I had dealt with and the things that the people in this place had nothing to do with the people in that place. And that was something that he did. Brendon Burchard does the hard minute pause, and I'm calling it something that I don't think he's called it, but the reality is I love Brendon Burchard, who says when he pulls into his garage, he just stops, turns the car off, and takes a minute to breathe. He takes pauses in moments before big moments occur. So before you have transitions in your day, every time there's a transition, you stop. You pause. You breathe. It allows you to actually function so much better. I've been doing that for years. Sometimes I actually stop and breathe in moments in the house just to process better. And other times I react, and I'm not the best version of myself. And guess what? Every single person that ever gets on a video and talks to anyone about being themselves or being better struggles with the very things they try to help you with. We all do. It's part of who we are. But if I want to be the best version of myself, I have to find a coping mechanism to deal with day and life transitions. So the first thing you have to do is you have to find what works for you. Is it the breathing technique that Brendon talks about, or is it the hanging up of all the stress on the tree on the outside porch as you walk in? Whatever it is, the first thing you have to do is you have to realize that the worlds are a little bit separate, but they can be combined if you do it the right way. I think the next thing you have to do is you have to save enough energy for the people that you love the most. Really, really important. If I love you, I should have energy for you. And I remember there were days growing up when my kids were super young, and the very first thing they want to do when I walk in the door is wrestle. They run to the door and they want to wrestle, and I love it. I would never change it for the world, especially with them as teenagers today. I don't get that greeting anymore. They still like to wrestle a little bit, but I don't get that greeting anymore. But I remember what that felt like, and I remember how tired I was when I would walk in the door and all I wanted to do was sit and relax. And I didn't have that option, but I didn't let myself not have the energy needed to be able to take that greeting because I knew that greeting would be temporary. Now, that didn't happen every day. There were some days I couldn't deal with that. And there were some days where I really regretted or resented that version of me. And so you work on a better version the next day. You forgive that person because some days it is too much. But most days, you're able to cope with it. I would do the breathing, I would hang it up, and I would provide the energy that was needed to give my family in that home what they needed. The last thing I would say is just to remember why you're doing everything you're doing. If you forget your why along the way, you've missed the whole point. Everything I do is for the people I love. Every single meeting I take, every person I help, every video I make, every single thing I do in my career, in my life, is for the people that I'm here to provide for and protect and love. And if I forget that, I forget my ultimate why, then I'm actually getting confused at what's more important. I'm forgetting that my impact to the world is nothing if my impact to my family is nothing. See, that's extremely imperative. That's why love for me always comes first. Relationships always come first. Failures are going to be incessant in love and in relationships. Failures are going to be incessant in the home. But man, why are we so good professionally and struggle sometimes personally? It's such a great question. I'd love to know what you found to be most successful for you. What works for you? What's your secret recipe? Because every single person can learn from each other. And if you're being honest, if you are a hardworking mother or father, you walk in the door and have nothing to give many days, but you find that energy. You find it, hopefully, because you know that the dividends it pays later in life, the true investment in the future of those children, of your family, of the people you love, is worth more than any other impact you can put out into the world. It's actually living on past you most of the time. It's something that's more empowering than anything else you can give. So I think it's worth learning about. I think it's worth sharing. I think it's worth talking about and getting better at every day. And I know personally I'm working on that every day, just like all of you are, I guarantee. Because there's not a single friend I have or person that I know that doesn't struggle with some level of disconnection between the worlds. So if that's you, share what works for you. I'd love to know. I'd love to learn, and I look forward to learning from every one of you. So first of all, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like. Other people that might need to see this, don't be afraid to send it to them. And if you like content like this, watch this next video on how to be more productive.